Colombia. And good morning good afternoon here in Ethiopia. It's my pleasure to welcome you to, this is the 15th webinar of the EthioLatinCoffee Community of Practice. And today's session is a special one. We usually have this webinar at the end of, on Tuesdays at the end of every month. But this is a special session and to offer us opportunity to explore two essential aspects of the coffee industry. One is sustainable coffee production and differentiation by flavor profile. And the second one is market opportunities for women coffee producers. And the presenters will talk specifically in Honduras. So we are honored to have the presenters Heidi, Christel, Carlos, and Carla, who are experts in coffee production. They will lead both of the presentations. So first, Heidi will take us through the principles and practice of sustainable coffee production. This presentation will highlight how flavor profile differentiation can position producers to meet the evolving demands of specialty markets, helping them gain a competitive edge. And the second part of the session, she will also focus on market opportunities for women producers in Honduras. And we hope we learn from that for Ethiopia and Colombia. And this presentation will showcase success stories and innovative strategies for market access. So as we all know, women play a pivotal role in coffee production, from planting to processing. This presentation will not only explore new avenues for economic empowerment, but will also illustrate how targeted strategies can help women producers overcome market barriers and thrive. So today's event is designed to foster engagement and collaboration, so I encourage all participants to actively contribute during the discussions that will follow each presentation. So your insights and feedback will help shape actionable strategies further our collective goals of gender equity and sustainable coffee production. Thank you for being here and for your continued dedication, creating a more resilient and inclusive coffee sector. We look forward to learning from Heidi's expertise and from each other in this session. So welcome once again, and let's make this the most out of this opportunity together. So enjoy the webinar. Thank you so much. I will now invite Heidi to give us her first presentation. Over to you, Heidi. You can share your screen. Okay, continue, please.
Thank you. We apologize for the inconvenience. Good morning to everyone. Thank you for all of you being in this webinar. We are very happy to share with all of you many relevant topics about coffee productions. Thanks to the words of Mr. Alemon, and welcome everyone to this webinar. I'm Carla Pineda. I'm Heidi's sisters. We are Sescafé. We are a family coffee company where patience is one of the components in our family. Our father, Carlos Pineda, who is our guide, and also present in this webinar. He has working for the coffee world for almost 4 years. So the coffee company supports the coffee sector. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being with us together. And since our language is Spanish, so I will translate this webinar and make it possible for an effective understanding. If you have some question on everyone you want to know, just let it know. I'm very pleased to be able to share with you a very important topic such as sustainable coffee production and differentiation by flavor profile. It is a topic that has been shared with the Association of Honduran Women in the Coffee and Mucafe in Honduras, and that we will be pleased to share with you today. Next slide, please. Coffee in the world is produced in this topic. We can see in this slide that the country within the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn are the countries where coffee cultivation is developed. This is the area where only coffee is produced. Next, please. The emergence of coffee in the world has been in Ethiopia, the country where most of Ethiopia, the country where most of you live, back in 700 years after Christ, and as you already know the story of the shepherd who discovered it. Over time, can you continue to, yes, thank you. Over time, coffee developed, it slowly passed to Indonesia as an important crop in 1690. Later, it's passed to the Botanic Garden of Amsterdam in Holland and the Netherlands in 1706, and they sent it to their colonies in the America, to Martinique, and from there it's passed to Mexico and then to Central America. That is how we have had coffee for 2 centuries and 20 years more or so. Coffee has been grown in this area, has become a very important activity to this country, and most of that for our country too. In the world, Brazil is the country with the highest coffee production with 35%, followed by Vietnam with 80%, then Colombia and Indonesia, which are the 4 countries competing for the first places. They are usually all found in that order. Secondly, Ethiopia, Honduras, and India are the countries that follow in terms of production, and their order varies according to year's harvest. Finally, there are India, Uganda, Mexico, and Peru are the countries that follow in terms of production, and their order varies according to year harvest. Around 7 countries, and these 10 countries already mentioned are the countries that produce almost 90% of the coffee production in the world. Thank you. In this slide, you can see one of the coffee challenge that we have. For example, you can see the production here looks very healthy, looks green. So in coffee, we have a lot of challenge. And one of these is this one, that we have to maintain plantation like this. Another challenge are the biodiversity. We have, and it's very necessary to maintain a balance with environment by the biodiversity. We are, and we have the responsibility to contribute to preserving spaces. Like you see in this photo, we have we have to share good friendly with the environment. We have bees over here, we have birds over there. So that is one of our challenge that we have in the plantation coffee. Next. Likewise, there are challenges in production without pests or insect affecting production. In this case, the coffee berry border or coffee rose, which has been a disease that has considerable reduced coffee production worldwide. And in this slide, you can see the berry border, and can you do the next slide, please? And the other challenge that we have to fight it with this roots coffee and berry border. Next slide. Quality, it's another challenge that we have to maintain coffee quality. And one last great challenge that we will mention in this conversation, it's about maintaining the quality of the coffee. And this is precisely what we have worked on this month and that we have collaborated to talk about coffee quality. Yes. When talking about coffee quality for coffee producer, we must consider several.
Sorry.
Talking
Okay, I don't think this thing is working, so let's continue with the English then.
Okay, so
Let's just continue with the English. Sorry for Spanish listeners. We cannot translate it in Spanish right now.
So when we're talking about coffee quality for coffee producer, we must consider several aspects. Continue with the next slide.
Okay.
First of all, environment conditions, which are known as terroir. And these are the conditions given to each production site. Can you that refers to the soils telling you that one of the things that is very important is the environment condition, which are known as a terroir. These are the conditions given to each production site. Terroir refer to the soils and nutrition found on a particular farm, the temperature of that area, the prevailing relative humidity, the precipitation or amount of water that falls, and the different culture practices that are specific to each producer or coffee growing area. All of this is called terroir, which gives us a unique value and a unique characteristic to the coffee we represent. In addition, there is the technology to be used. When all this is combined, it gives us the unique and special characteristic for a coffee farm. Next, please. Talking about technology is talking about the different variety use. Coffee harvesting is a fundamental aspect of producing high quality coffee. So for us, being and having the technology increase our quality too for the coffee. Next, thank you. We are talking about the maturity of the fruit. And in this graphic, you can see that there is a stage in which the coffee is not edible when it's from flowering and maturing until reach a yellow or reddish color. Can you just give another click? Thank you. Reddish color, depending on the variety of coffee to be used, and it is where the coffee can already be consumed. This is that we call commercial ripeness. Another click, please. But when we talk about a specialty coffee, there is a stage which maturity called consumption maturity, which is where the coffee has better flavor characteristic, and it is where we should be harvesting to obtain the best possible flavor quality. Next. Within the technology is also knowing the Brix degree on the sweetness that the coffee gives. Behind the main energy element for some friends of ours who are the microorganisms. These microorganisms, in their quest to feed and survive, perform a series of important microbiological functions during a state called fermentation, where they take the characteristic from the environment where they are and introduce them to the green bean, the coffee that we are going to roast and consume, and that is an extremely important aspect. We call this phenomenal fermentation, and these microorganisms and free friends are what the producer obtained a specific flavor in his coffee processing. To obtain quality coffee, it is necessary to innovate. We must combine the quality of this case with honey coffee, Welch's coffee, which is the most widespread process in Central America, and natural coffee that have grown enormously in So we're talking that one thing that we have to do is innovate in our to obtain a quality coffee. So we must combine the quality in this case with honey coffee that preserve all the quality of the sweetness of the grain. Then we have the washed coffee. Okay. Next slide, yes. And which is the most widespread process in Central America. And then we have the natural coffee that have grown enormously in recent years. So next, please. So we have to tell you that we have success stories of that topic. When the practices that we made and we discussed about are implemented, producers manage to achieve their proposed goals. Like in this case, the Vasquez Hernandez family, made of 2 women and 4 men, and on a 4-hectare farm with a catway variety at 1650 meters above sea level, have founded coffee with the following cup characteristic. In the cup, there's a fragrance and aroma. They have sweet apricot and caramel. The flavor is citric and caramel, and the body is very viscous. These are the sensory descriptors that give value to this coffee. In summary, when we talk about coffee quality, it basically relates to different aspects of the terroir. For example, when we talk about weight, when we talk about height, we must take into account the variety used, the established management, planting age, physiological maternity, and classifications. Another aspect very important is the variety. It's related to soil fertility, fertilization frequency, dosage, and management of pests and disease. Also related to the processing, and this with the intrinsic variable of the bean, with the fermentation, the microorganisms present in the fermentation, and all of this must be combined with education, with the knowledge that the producer must have in the subject of the coffee processing to finally lead to a market that is feedback with each one of these characteristics to obtain coffee value that we desire with the respect quality. So here we see so these points are very important to have a quality coffee, and it's important to share to all of the producer, all of the owner of farms, because if they implement these kind of topics, we are very sure that they're gonna have very coffee with a big value. Next share, please. Here we see a producer in Honduras, which has made every effort to process quality coffee and is at a national event to promote its coffee brand. I would like to mention the importance of education and promotion of coffee, not only about having quality coffee, but also about making it known, such as this case of participation in fairs and exhibition, which is the way to make our product known. That I say it's very important, and for us the education and to try to explain all the producer the importance to have a good coffee and good processing coffee at good and friendly with the environment makes that the coffee has a value so important for the increase of the family. Can you continue? So in this slide, just we're gonna share with you that the success of women that they're making their activity, they're promoting the coffee, they're promoting their own coffee into national events and in other areas. And the importance of this one is that about all the knowledge that they have, they can share with the people, and they can tell the or its history about how the coffee are growing in their farm. Continue. So that's the. So now I'm just enjoying to you to have a drink coffee and talk about happy things. We finish this first presentation.
Thank you. Thanks so much. So sorry for the translation. It's not working. Hopefully you've understood the presentation. If you have any
Mr.
questions, you are welcome.
Sorry that I'm for the next presentation, we're gonna do it in both, in Spanish and in English. So
okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, so are there any questions from the audience? If you have any questions, you're welcome. So let me start with a question. So we have talked about flavor profile, and so every coffee growing region has unique environmental conditions, as you have said, such as soil composition, altitude, and climate, which shapes the flavor profiles of coffee. So coffee that's growing in Ethiopia at various places have various kinds of flavors. So considering the distinct flavors of flavors that your regions in Honduras coffee is known for, which profile do you think best captures the essence of your local coffee? What kind of profile do you have best captures the essence of your local coffee in Honduras? Does it have fruity, floral, nutty, or chocolate notes? And in your view, how can producers leverage these distinctive flavors profiles to position their coffee more effectively in specialty markets? Do you understand the question? Carla?
Can you repeat it?
So what kind of flavors do you have in the Honduras coffee markets? And
el sabor del café depende, como se mostró en la presentación, de la calidad del café mismo, de la fruta y de los microorganismos que contribuyen a la formación de los sabores.
Okay, the flavor that we have in Honduras is depending of the environment and the quality of the grain by itself. It's envelope. It's have to be with the microorganisms
La fermentación.
and the fermentation of the fruit.
Los sabores principales son sabores a frutas rojas, en el café especial.
In the specialty coffee, we have flavor like tropical fruits, like citrus, and we have the red fruits like chocolate, caramel.
Ese es lo que predomina.
These are the main flavor that we have.
okay, thanks. So what kind of strategies, such as, for example, branding, or it could be storytelling, or it could be direct trade relationships, do you think helps to communicate these unique qualities to global buyers and consumers from your experience? So what strategies do you use? Which one is the best strategy to communicate these flavors to the international consumers or buyers?
Bueno, para ir mejorando en la calidad del café, lo que tenemos que hacer es la formación, tener el conocimiento al respecto. Y eso es formación, educación. Entonces, en Honduras lo que estamos haciendo, estamos conociendo los procesos, conociendo los microorganismos que actúan en los procesos para finalmente obtener los sabores deseados, aunque sean variados, pero de alta calidad, de preferencia para los consumidores.
So here in Honduras, one of the strategies that we're using is the education and to teach the owner of the farm, to teach the family of the farm that are producing coffee, to know, to have knowledge about the coffee that they have and how to do the best processing and how to do all the things that they have to do in their coffee farms, and teach them that we have processing coffee, that we have quality coffee, that we have microorganisms, and all of these things join is that we have a good flavor on the coffee.
All right, thank you so much. Any other questions from participants? If we don't have, then we can go to the next presentation. Any other question? Thank you. So let's go to the next presentation. Next presentation will be on markets. I will share the screen. Can you
So
see it?
for this presentation, my father will speak in Spanish, and then I'm gonna translate
Good.
at the same time.
Continue, please.
Can you put by presentation, please?
So Heidi will speak in Spanish, Carla in the English. Excellent. Okay, continue, please.
Oh, muy bien. Después de resolver esta situación, queremos compartir una nueva presentación sobre las oportunidades que tiene la mujer en Honduras para producir cafés de especialidad.
So so now in this second exposition, we have already discussed how to prepare good coffee, how to find sustainable profile flavors, to be able to participate in competition or in marketing process for already differentiated coffee. Next slide, please.
Muy bien, gracias. Esa es una panorámica de las mujeres de café en Honduras que están participando activamente en el proceso de producción y de diferenciación del café.
We have chosen this photograph to show you the impetus that we have chosen this photograph to show you the impetus that women have in Honduras. They are organized in the Alliance of Women in Coffee, Cafe, and every day they are gaining grant and business recognition. So we are proud of them. Next slide, please.
Muy bien, entonces, esta es una panorámica del comercio del café en el mundo, donde puede verse la inestabilidad de los precios, que generalmente tienden a ser precios bajos.
So in this following slide, we find the behavior of the Honduran coffee market, in which we see that the Honduran market is variable. Observing in the graph, the values are always low, and with few annual trends of increasing. But normally, the trend of our coffee has value lower than the cost. Next slide, please.
También podemos ver la producción de café en el mundo, donde Brasil representa un 35%, seguido de Vietnam, Indonesia y Colombia como los principales países productores de café. Y posteriormente sigue Honduras, India, Etiopía, dependiendo en diferentes porcentajes, para representar cerca del 90% de la producción mundial.
In this sense, we see the world coffee production, where Brazil with 30% Then Vietnam, Indonesia, and Colombia are the main coffee producing countries, followed by Honduras, India, Ethiopia, and Mexico, who almost reach the 90% of the productions. And the next slide, please.
También puede verse cuál es el grado de consumo del café y podemos ver cómo se ha ido incrementando el café, ¿verdad? Hasta llegar hasta cerca de 200 millones de sacos al año. También el principal productor de café es Estados Unidos, seguido de Brasil, ¿verdad? Y los países de la Unión Europea representan ahí el mayor consumo mundial.
As for consumptions, the main consumer country is the United States, and followed by Brazil, Germany, and Japan. And in general, the European Union is the main coffee consumer bloc in the world, and the United States as a country. And there we're almost with all the consumption 2,000
200.
of consumptions. Next slide, please.
Y en Honduras, la experiencia de Honduras es muy importante. Aquí está el mapa general de nuestro país, donde se observa que el café se cultiva en las zonas montañosas, ¿verdad? En las zonas de altura y está distribuido en todo el país.
In the case of Honduras, Honduran coffee growing, as shown in this slide, is based on the mountainous massif, the main mountain of the country. There are only 3 departments that do not produce coffee. The rest of the country is clearly producer. So the next slide, please.
¿Cuáles son las características de la caficultura hondureña? Pues la especie que cultiva aquí es la coffee arábica, ¿verdad? Tenemos una productividad de 1.2 toneladas por hectárea de café verde, que es equivalente a 25 sacos de 100 libras por hectárea, que es una medida aquí nacional. Y una característica muy importante es que el 97% del café se cultiva bajo sombra como una también responsabilidad social ambiental de nuestra caficultura.
Within the characteristic of Honduran coffee growing is that the cultivated species is coffee arabica. The productivity is normally around 1 to 1.2 tons per hectare of green coffee, and that represents that 90% of the coffee is grown in undershade. And this is because we have to be be friendly with the environment.
En Honduras, el café tiene mucha importancia económica. En este momento estamos produciendo 7 millones de sacos de 46 kilogramos, es decir, de 100 libras. Se genera al año por cada cosecha cerca de 100 millones de dólares, ¿verdad? Siendo muy importante la participación del Producto Interno, que es representa entre el 10 y el 14, y dentro del Producto Interno Agrícola, la participación del café de entre 30 y 33%.
In Honduras, the coffee has an impact in the economic contributions. We are currently producing 7 million of 46 kilogram bags of coffee. Approximately $1 billion in each generate for commercial harvest. The share of economic activity at the level of the national gross domestic product is 10 to 14%, and at the level of agricultural gross domestic product this is more or less 30% of the coffee, 30%.
También el café, desde el punto de vista social, es muy importante. Para la época de cosecha, que es en los meses de finales del año, primero del siguiente año, se producen cerca del 15% del empleo de café, más de 1 millón de empleos en las zonas rurales. También podemos ver
Pero
que
en inglés intentaré.
también podemos ver que hay un 20%
Porque así yo venía escuchando.
de las jefas de familia que son mujeres, ¿verdad? Que esto se está incrementando como un aspecto importante en la parte social. Y también el café genera mucho empleo, mucho trabajo, mucho comercio en las zonas urbanas para, durante la cosecha principalmente.
Socially, coffee during the harvest generate more than 1 million jobs, mainly in rural area. 20% of farms are owned by women, and this participation is growing every day. And coffee generates a lot of work and commerce in urban area, which in line with rural activity generates transportation, preparation, supplies in rural area. And so when it's coffee harvest season, this is an important activity because both areas, rural area and urban area are growing up, and it's a lot of work in both areas. So for Honduras have the coffee, it's a very important activity, economic activity and social activity. Next, please.
Muy bien, y esta es la gráfica de producción de café de este nuevo milenio en Honduras. Podemos ver que pasamos de 3 millones de sacos, hemos ido incrementando la producción, llegamos en el 2013 a 7 millones y con proyectos de apoyo al productor, de la parte gubernamental y de la parte de los productores mismos, se logró llegar a cerca de 10 millones de sacos para el año 2017, 2018. Y posteriormente la roya, que es una enfermedad que pudimos ver anteriormente, ha venido impactando y en este momento estamos llegando a 7 millones de sacos nuevamente, que lo que representa nuestra participación a nivel mundial en el sexto y séptimo lugar.
In this chart, you can see the behavior of production in Honduras in 2000, in which we maintain ourselves with 4 million until 2010. Then with projects that support the producer, we managed to increase it to 10 million by 2017. However, we had a severe roost attack that affect coffee production. Now we are between 6 and 7 million bags. That is that behavioral actually that have the coffee for all these years. In the next slide.
Bueno, el café, desde el punto de vista de calidad, el café se clasifica en Honduras de 3 maneras. Uno, el estricta high ground, que se produce en las zonas de altura, arriba de 1200 metros. Es un café digamos, del de alta calidad. Seguido está el high ground o de café de altura, que produce entre 900 a 1200 metros sobre el mar. Y este café, para el caso de Honduras, representa el 60% de la producción nacional. Y finalmente está el Cetra estándar, que es el café de las zonas bajas, de 300 y 900 metros. Esa es la clasificación del café de Honduras, el café comercial.
In our country, coffee is classified by altitude, meaning that the quality is associated with the altitude above sea level. So we have the lower level called central standard, which is grow between 600 and 900 meters above sea level. And there is another coffee known as high ground or high altitude coffee that is between 900 and 1,200 meters above sea level. And these represent the high ground coffee representing our country that 60% of the producer coffee. And then we have another coffee is the strictly high ground, which is about 102,000 and 108,000 meters above sea level, which is the maximum quota for growing coffee without affecting the environment in Honduras. So we can see that the graphic over here, that how is that they are represented. And like you see, the high row is that represent that 60% of the producer coffee over here. Next slide, please.
¿Y qué se considera un café especial, verdad? El café especial es un reconocimiento que se le hace a una calidad de café y hay diferentes maneras. Por ejemplo, por la parte ambiental, por ser amigo de los pájaros, por ser producido por mujeres, y por el manejo propiamente dicho. Es un tipo de café que no está hablando necesariamente de la calidad del café. Pero hay otro reconocimiento que es por la calidad de taza, o sea, por los sabores que en él se encuentran, y de esto es lo que vamos a estar hablando.
So now, in addition, we have to ask what is as a specialty coffee. From this genetic classification that we have, we can also identify a sector of those as a specialty coffee. So you can ask, what is as a specialty coffee? Where we will then distinguish two types of a specialty coffee, one by recognition, which is due to it being in the environment, or because it's bird friendly, by gender, or by the way the farm is managed certifications. A recognition coffee is then one of that govern the practice instead of the note itself. And there is another special coffee classification that is about the sensory, which is what we are talking about today, which is because that sensory characteristic in the cup itself. And in this subject of our work right now. So we can, when we're talking about a specialty coffee, you have to recognize, to identify what are you talking? Are you talking about recognition coffee, or by a specialized sensory coffee, like you're tasting in a cup? So if you're talking about a coffee, a special coffee by recognition, you have to consider the environment. You have to consider what the farm management. You have to consider all the other practice that the farms or the producer do. But if you're talking about a special sensory characteristic by a specialty coffee, you have to consider the note of the coffee. You have to consider how it stays in the cup. So these are the two classification that we make for call coffee a specialty coffee. Next slide, please.
Entonces, ¿qué es un café? ¿Cómo conseguir un café especial por taza? Eso es lo que queremos conversar.
And so we want to talk about what do you have to do for being a specialty coffee by the cup. Next slide. Like you see in the first presentation, we talked about how to prepare a specialty coffee. So now we're gonna talk what other thing you're gonna need for having a specialty coffee.
Por ejemplo, en Honduras, los cafés especiales, cuando se ha identificado, por ejemplo, se logran potenciar o se logran comercializar, por ejemplo, en la zona de Marcala, con una denominación de origen. Es una manera de dar a conocer los cafés. Es un esfuerzo que ha hecho este sector de la caficultura hondureña.
In Honduras, for example, we have the specialty coffee are recognized for some organization. And one way is this one, that is the denomination of origin Marcala coffee, where it has a minimum grade common throughout the Marcala region. So this is one of the organization that in this area, in their area, they're classified and put like a minimum grade for classification for determine what coffee is a specialty coffee. Next slide, please.
Otro esfuerzo que se realiza en Honduras es en el occidente del país, con el HWC o Honduras Western Coffee, que también potencia su café por sus características especiales, especialmente la dulzura de ese café.
Other organization that in Honduras we made and work hard is the west of the it's on the west of the country. We had the Honduran Western Coffee Project, and there they classify their coffee, and one of the characteristics that we can find in their coffee is the sweetness of them and the flavor of chocolate and other characteristics that identify a characteristic their area is on the western area of Honduras. And the other slide, please.
Y recientemente en la zona de Santa Bárbara, que es un departamento en el occidente del país, también ha sido reconocida por su calidad, ¿va? Excepcional, por sus condiciones del terroir que se habló en la presentación anterior, y es un café que también ha apetecido en todo el mundo.
Recently, we also have another organization that is recognized in all the world, is the Santa Barbara Coffee, where has a good work with the terroir. All the producers have to work with all the work with the environment and trying to being friendly with the producer.
Bueno, y también les mencionaba que para las oportunidades que tienen, como decía el título, la mujer en Honduras para producir café de especialidad o café diferenciado, es fundamental la educación. Y aquí podemos ver un grupo de jóvenes productoras de café que están capacitándose sobre los procesos para obtener mejores sabores o sabores diferentes.
Like we told in the presentation, this presentation and the last presentation too, one of the important topic that we have to work, you can do the other slide too, it's no matter. It's talking about education. It's an important way to know the specialty coffee. If we do not learn, if we do not know the properties and do the appropriate practice of, or if we don't know the technology that we have to use, we will not be able to be at the forefront of specialty coffee. And this is where women are putting a lot of emphasis. We see a group of women over here studying how to carry out the process, knowing the fruit, what to do with the fruit, most exquisite flavors possible. Now, the climate, temperature, humidity, precipitation, and other parameters that need to be controlled, it's one of the things that we have to do. Like for that reason, we say that the education is an important item. It's an important topic that most of the producer, most of all of us have to know, because if we don't have the education that we need, possible we cannot have a specialty coffee. All the topics, all the things that it's around the producers coffee, it's around the farm coffee, it's impacting to the flavor. So,
Y todo ese conocimiento nos trae a la innovación, a crear nuevos productos. En este caso, hablábamos de café melado, de cafés naturales, con nuevas oportunidades de mercadeo, nuevas oportunidades de sabores que se forman en los procesos de beneficiado del café.
With all the knowledge that we know, also we have to innovate that. In that way, we will have to recreate and get out of the everyday zones and innovate and work hard of the honey coffee or the natural coffee that this kind of or this type of coffee give us a specialty flavor, give us quality that is specific of their coffees. So for that reason, education and innovation have to be joined.
Este es un triángulo de la calidad del café. Normalmente, ¿verdad? Tenemos un grado comercial, que es el grado que se alcanza hasta 80 puntos en un formato especial que existe para la catación o para la evaluación del café. El café también es el mayor porcentaje que comercializa, pero la aspiración de todos los productores y productoras es llegar a diferenciarnos a grados especiales o a grados boutique, que son cafés ya muy expresivos en sabor, hasta llegar a cafés únicos que son irrepetibles. Este es como nosotros debemos de ir creando nuestra industria.
In the commercial world, there is a quality triangle. For example, generic of commercial grade coffee is the one that has up to 80 points and is the largest block in coffee marketing. Then there is a special degree, which is where we are moving, which has up to 85 points, and be adding the education and the process, we can reach a boutique type, and even we can reach unique and exclusive coffee that were made only in our farms. That is what we should do, classifying the 4 blocks of coffee. We must try to be among the highest, because among the highest are the best recognition in terms of price. And all of the producers and all of the farmers have to point to the boutique coffee and the unique coffee, because that's gonna make increasing and have more recognition coffee by themselves. So, thank you.
¿Cómo es que se hacen los cafés especiales?
How to market specialty coffee. How to market specialty coffee.
Bueno, como aquí podemos ver cuál es cuándo es reconocido un café como especial, o cómo podemos hacer para comercializar cafés especiales. Lo primero es estar dispuestos a preparar un lote, un microlote. Cuando se habla de microlote, se hablan de cantidades pequeñas de café, de 10 hasta 1 tonelada, ¿verdad?, de café, o 20 quintales de café. Ese café, después nosotros, después de prepararlos, buscamos al tostador, al comprador, le enviamos también una historia de nuestra finca, de nuestro lote, de nuestro café, cómo se ha producido. Posteriormente, los tostadores hacen su análisis respectivo de sensorial, ¿verdad? Y llegan a una negociación, o sea, ponerse de acuerdo, y posteriormente el café es comercializado. Este es el esquema más fácil que se utiliza en Honduras para lograr vender cafés especiales.
So we must know how to market our coffee and so how to do it. First of all, the producer had to prepare his batch of coffee, prepare it consciously to get the best out of it. Then, after contacting a buyer or a roaster, he sends samples of the coffee. It's important that the owner of the coffee tell a story of the coffee. It's a plus that we have to add. Have to put or send some photograph or every evidence available that can show it's possible that sent to the buyer or the roaster, because that may extra points for innovate or for telling the history of our coffee. Then for third one, the buyer or the roaster performs sensor analysis, and depending on his degree of satisfactions, negotiate with the producers. And then of that, I have to collect the batch of coffee and process, and that finally is the cancellation or process the cancel the order that the buyer or roaster made. So there are the steps to follow, and it's important to secondly look for institute or organization to support you in order to achieve a good business relationship between roasters and buyers. And this is the way that in Honduras we work for making good negotiations.
Y aquí tenemos pues ya algunos casos de éxito, ¿verdad? De mujeres hondureñas que están sobresaliendo en la caficultura nacional. Un caso muy especial es de la señora Marisabel Caballero, aquí en esta fotografía, quien desde el año 2002, 2003, repuntó en la tasa de excelencia y ha sido consistente y ha dado el nombre al café hondureño en el mundo.
And we can see in the back slide that is success story of women in coffee. For example, Mr. Maria Isabel Caballero, who has productive in the coffee of excellence, and secondly, maintain her quality, her history, the prestige of her coffee, and that to the date, she continued to be successful in the coffee of excellence in our country.
Igual de todas maneras aquí no tenemos cámaras, entonces
Aquí también,
los invito a que
también
esta reunión sea de mucho,
disculpa del caso,
de
también tenemos
de mucho provecho para las ambas partes. Entonces, bienvenidas.
recientemente,
Y también, no sé.
bueno, recientemente tenemos un gran ejemplo en la zona de Marcala, en la zona de denominación de origen, de la joven Cecilia Juan, ¿verdad? Que está preparando cafés y comercializando cafés en diferentes partes del mundo con mucho éxito, donde ella ha implementado estas nuevas tecnologías y ha aprovechado el tema de darse a conocer también como productora de café.
So another recent success story is in Finca Débora, owned by Mr. Cecilia Juan in Marcala. It's one that the organization that we mentioned back away, who shown great effort and dedication to expand her coffee into different markets, both Asians and North America. And this is one of the example that women are working hard and that coffee can make big differentiations. And in this way, we can continue to move forward, expanding specialty coffee with high quality range. And so how we know that we love all coffee, all of the people that we're meeting, we are in this meeting love coffee. So the universal language it's coffee. We appreciate all of you to pay attention in our presentation. We apologize because we have some inconvenience in the traductions, but we hope you enjoy. And the first of all is that we enjoy to talk about coffee. If you have question, we are able to answer them.
Thank you, Carla. And thank you, Carlos. Actually, we apologize for the interpretation functionality. I should have explained it much better. It needs two computers. One will be the interpreter, and the other computer will be the presentation computer. So that's why we have this delay in the interpretation. So sorry for that. Maybe we'll invite you another time, and we'll have a better interpretation service next time. So if you have any questions from participants, you're welcome. We can take one or two questions. Anyone? Let me ask one question. From your perspective, what key support, such as trading, or it could be financing, or it could be partnership, would make the biggest impact for women coffee producers? So we are also in this project, the Women Coffee and Climate Project, which is supported by the Spanish Corporation and the European Union. We are striving to empower women coffee producers. So from your experience in Rust, my question is, what key support, such as training, financing, or partnership, would make the biggest impact for women coffee producers?
Bueno, sí, gracias por la pregunta. Entiendo que es qué clave o qué estrategia tienen las mujeres para incrementar su participación. Y en el caso de Honduras, pues la organización de ellas en su Amucafé realmente es un factor preponderante, porque ahí pueden, pues hacen gestión, ¿verdad? Hay reconocimiento de parte de ellas, y tanto en forma particular como con algunas instituciones reciben los apoyos principalmente en la educación. Yo insisto, necesitamos formarnos, necesitamos crecer en el conocimiento para poder innovar y para poder ser diferentes. Creo que ahí está, en gestionar el conocimiento en diferentes momentos y en diferentes situaciones para lograr tener esas calidades de café requeridas por el mercado.
So one of the keys to support the activity of the women is to, like here in Honduras, we have the Mucafe, that they're an organization that they are working very good, and they're working about having specialty coffee. So one of the things that we motivate is to generate knowledge and to being always preparing for being increasing the knowledge.
All right. Thank you so much for the response. Any questions from anyone else? So I don't think there are any questions. So thank you so much for the presentation, and sorry once again for the interpretation, the issues that we had with the interpretation service. So as we conclude, thank you for your participation. Special thanks to Christelle, Carla, and Carlos for insightful presentations on the two topics of sustainable coffee production and of course market opportunities for women producers in Honduras. On behalf of the EthioLatinCoffee practice and our partners, Thank you once again for your time, insights and contributions. We hope today's session has provided you with new ideas and inspiration to take back to your communities and organizations. Thank you for your engagement. Let's carry the ideas and inspiration from today forward as we continue to work towards a sustainable and equitable coffee future. So we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar, which will be on the 29th of October. The topic of that webinar will be on involvement of the users in coffee production. So we have experience from Colombia and Honduras and Ethiopia. Thank you, and we'll see you next webinar. Sorry for all the inconvenience we have today. But thank you for all the presentations also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.